My name is Morten Lacour, and today I want to take you through a setting up of a couple of EDI flows in FlowgraIT. So let's have a look at what we are dealing with today. So let's assume that we have a couple of trading partners that sends us orders, and these orders we want to process and deliver them to our ERP system. We got one trading partner called Tricorp and another one called CubeSample. Now they deliver their orders in quite different formats. Tricorp has chosen JSON in their own proprietary JSON format here, whereas CubeSample actually sends comma delimited, or in this case, since I'm in Europe, semicolon delimited files, where the first file is sort of the metadata, the order header, and the subsequent lines here are order lines. So we want to be able to process all this and send that into our ERP system. Now, in order to do that, we are going to be looking at FlowgraIT's one-way flow processing here. So we have this four-step thing going on in FlowgraIT, where if we receive messages going into our integration engine here, we have step 1 and 2, where step 1 deals with the protocol, such thing as FTP, HTTP, etc. Whereas step 2 deals with the transformation or the processing of the messages so that we can transform our message into an internal format, in this case, an internal order format. And then we're going to have some sort of subscription here saying, hey, for instance, for our ERP system, which is what we're going to send to today, we want to subscribe to, let's say, all orders. So we're going to set up a step 3 that subscribes to all orders. And that step 3 again will do some transformation because our ERP system, I think I can show you that over here. Our ERP system wants a format a little bit like this, with an order number, buyer, items, etc., which is going to look somewhat different than our internal format. But I'll get back to that in a second. So step 3 will do transformation to whatever format our ERP system wants. In this case, it's going to be JSON, but it might as well be XML, comma delimited, or send stuff to a database or whatever. And then step 4 will again be the protocol. How do we deliver this to our ERP system? And that again could be dropping a file in a file folder, sending to an HTTP endpoint, or sending to an FTP, or putting it directly into a database, etc. So for my demo today, I'm only going to use HTTP for both receiving and sending, just to simplify things a little bit. But I hope that you can visualize yourself that it might as well be any other protocol. Okay, so I'm going to start up by doing this Tricorp flow here. So we're going to receive orders from Tricorp and putting them into our pub subscribe engine, and then I'm going to set up a step 3 and 4 that sends to our ERP system. Okay, so in order to do that, I have prepared a little bit here from home. I already have a domain called the demo, which I've already set up, and we are going to do a couple of steps in here, and I'm going to show you all this. So I have this raw file over here where I'm going to cheat a little bit. So we're going to do Tricorp step 1 and 2 first. So let me just copy these YAML snippets here. And let's get those into my file here. So we're going to do step 1 and 2. And again, remember I said that we're going to use HTTP. It could have been FTP and whatever. We have 8 or 9 different out-of-the-box protocols here. We're going to give it a name, Tricorp order. And I'm also going to give it a postfix URL-ish thing here, because everything is going to be picked up from our Azure API management whenever we do HTTP receive. So when we're receiving orders from Tricorp, we're putting in this URL template here. And then we are also going to do a map. I have a JSON map here that maps from Tricorp to iOrder. And I guess while I'm deploying this thing, I'm going to show you these JSON maps here. But let me just save this and Let's go back and find, in this case, step 3 and 4. So I'm just going to put in step 3 and 4. Now, if you just know, I'm going to put this in first, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. So if I just go back to my presentation here, I'm using a webhook today to sort of simulate our ERP system. I don't have a real ERP system right now, but I've just set up a webhook here, somewhere here. So if I hit this URL, we are going to be able to see the final result here in this webhook.site. Okay, so what I'm also doing here is in step 3, I'm setting up a filter. So I'm setting up a filter here that says if the message type is order, then this flow wants a copy. And again, you can have multiple subscribers if you need to. I mean, in theory, every time we got an order into our public subscribe engine, we could say you need to send it both to our ERP system and some other system somewhere. All right, and we could, of course, also do more complex stuff. Maybe, we are only interested if the sender ID is equal to, I don't know, IBM or whatever. So numerous options here to do more complex filtering if needed. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to push this to my DevOps, and I'm going to run the pipeline so that we get these step 1, 2, 3, 4 deployed. So let's just write a comment here. So added Tricorp and ERP flow. Should say order flow. Yeah. Okay, so let's just push this. And let's see if I can find my DevOps. So again, my domain name here is the demo. So I'm going to go into the demo, and I am going to run this pipeline again. And hopefully what we will see then is that it will start to create all these flows. Yeah, we got multiple environments. I'm only going to deploy to one environment at the moment. This one has a sort of a gate that it needs to be approved before. But while we do that, or rather while we wait for that, let me go and see if I can find my Azure portal here. And if I actually go to my development storage account, I just want to show you those JSON alter maps here. So we got our maps here. The demo is what we are calling our stuff today. So the map I'm going to use right now just to get this stuff into an internal order is actually Trifork2 internal order JSON alter. I think I can show it to you here. Now I'm not going to go into JSON alter details, but I just want to point out that we have a convention in FlowgraIT that says whatever you put in the header, we are going to be able to sort of do that filtering on. And also the first element that comes immediately after body will be the message type. And that is actually the reason that I was able to, in the filter on step 3, to write message type equals order. That's actually because of this guy right here. So again, if we can receive multiple orders from multiple different trading partners, if we just make sure in step 2 that we map everything into this JSON format here with headers and body, and we make sure that the body is called order, well, then we're going to be able to have a step 3 that subscribes to this message type equals order, and in that case, step 3 will get all these orders. Okay, so I also have another map that I implemented in step 3 called internal order to our ERP order. So that's the second one here. Let's just go and have a quick look at that one. So the ERP system says, well, we still use JSON. Again, it might as well have been XML. I'm going to show you that later. Order order number, buyer, items, and so on and so on. So this one maps from the internal format into whatever format the ERP system requires. And again, if we have multiple new trading partners coming along, all we have to do is create another step 1 and 2 and map that into our internal format. And then this map on step 3, the send side sending towards ERP, that doesn't need any change whatsoever. All right, let's go and see how our pipeline is doing. So it's actually almost done now because we did these 4 steps here. We did a step 1, try 4, blah, blah. And we did a step 3, 4 in here. I'm not sure the naming here is too well, but too good right now. But these step 3 and 4 are definitely those steps towards the ERP system. So once this is done, what we are hopefully ready to do is to send a try order into an internal order and then again map that to our ERP system. And remember, the ERP system was just my webhook here. So we're going to monitor this webhook side here pretty closely. And then I'm going to go to my Postman and I am going to submit this Tricorp order into orders/Tricorp. If you remember, this is what I've configured here, that I need an endpoint with orders Tricorp. You can also see here is where I say in step 2, I'm going to use this JSON map called Tricorp to internal order. And if we also have a very quick look here at step 3, you can also see that I'm using the map JSON. Oh, sorry, yeah, this is just the process. The JSON map here called I order to ERP order, which I also showed you earlier. So let's try and submit a Tricorp order and see what happens. So I'm going to submit this one, get a correlation ID, which I'll get back to a little bit later. And if we go and have a look at our webhook here, you can see we actually received a single order here, but this order has now been mapped into our ERP system format. As you might recall, ERP system wants this order number, buyer, items, and so on. So what has happened here is that we have mapped this into first an internal order and then our ERP order here. Okay, so that stuff seems to be working. So now let's have a look at the fact that we want to introduce a new trading partner. Okay, so we got Cube Sample, brand new flow, a brand new trading partner that wants to exchange orders with us, and they say, hey, we are actually delivering this in comma delimited style here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to open this FlowgraIT tester tool here that you can see more about in another video. And I'm going to say, hey, let's test if we get this as an input and we use some of these various processes that FlowgraIT has. So I just happens to know that FlowgraIT already have an out-of-the-box process called CSV2XML, for instance. Now we need to tell it a couple of things because I'm pretty sure that comma delimited here is the default, but since I'm in Europe here where we sometimes use commas for decimal numbers, our CSV usually saves a semicolon, so I might just say semicolon here. And I also need to set a true. Again, this is stuff we can read about in the documentation. And true actually means that the first line is data and not column names. So if I do that and hit transform, you'll be able to see that this will enable us to get some very, very raw XML. Now, I already have some JSON again that can map this into our internal format. But before we can do that, of course, we need to convert this to JSON. So let me just show you that if I do just comma, that means the next step, XML to JSON, and hit transform, well, you should be able to see that now we get this stuff out into a JSON. Now, whenever we use this tool, you can actually follow each of the steps here. So you can see, well, the first step converts it into this XML, and then the second step, which is called XML to JSON, converts it into this JSON format here. So the third thing I'm going to do is again call JSON, map JSON, I think it's called. And we're going to have this map here somewhere. And I think I have a cheat sheet here somewhere. Yes. So I'm just going to copy this map and then use this cube sample into iOrder map here. So let's just see how that works. If I hit transform, you can see now my output here is actually this header body format, internal format that we talked about earlier, again, where all the header fields and this message type will be sort of promoted or written into context automatically so that we can use it for filtering later on when we set up our send flow. So if I can actually implement a step 1 and 2 flow now for cube sample and use this process line here, we should be able to start receiving orders from cube sample and not having to change anything in the flow towards our ERP system. So let's just try and do that. So again, I do have a cheat sheet, but you know what? I am actually going to do something else here. I just have to really be careful that I change all the naming correctly, but I'm going to try that. I'm just going to copy step 1 and 2, the step 1 and 2 from Tricorp here. And let's put them in the top so that they're also executed the first when we're running our pipeline in a sec. Okay, so where it says Tricorp, I have to change it to cube sample. So let me just make sure that we do that, and let's also do it in our display name here. And then we got, as you can see, we got a name here as well. Very important that we change that name. Otherwise, we're going to have some conflicts. And there's also some Tricorp in the unique name that we have because we can actually have multiple step 1s into the same step 2. So that's the reason for that. And then, of course, we also need to change this URL template. And then the last thing, we got this pre-process line here. I'm just going to change that pre-process line to the process line we've tested in our transform tester here. So that we know, hey, if somebody submits this comma delimited stuff, and we just make sure to use this process, these process instructions here, well, then we should be good to go and get this internal format out right into our message box or publish subscribe engine or whatever we choose to call them. So that should be it. So let me just save this and let's push this. So add it, cube sample, order, receive flow. So let's sync those changes and let's find our pipeline. And I'm going to run the demo pipeline here again, and that will take a while. So I think we're going to fast forward this video, but I just want to show you quickly once it starts. Just give it a sec because it needs to do this build stage first here, this stage here. So once that stage is started and completed, which it will pretty soon, then I'm just going to show you that we are going to get all these new steps because there should be two additional steps now, the step 1 and the step 2 for cube sample, which I am going to show you. So let's just have this one finished. I'm pretty sure it will because there's an artifact here already. And this next deploy to development is ready to run now. So let's just see. Yeah. So you can see our new cube sample stuff is here. So we're just going to let this run. Okay, I know the pipeline is not completely done, but it's actually done with these 2 important steps here with our new cube sample flow. And since no changes has been made to the last 10 flows, I actually think we're good to go, even though it's still deploying. This is, of course, something we have to be a little bit careful if we don't know what we're doing. But I'm just going to show you here now that if we go back to our webhook site, remember where we submitted orders from Trifork. I think we can try that again if we want to. Yeah, so we got a new Trifork order here, and we can see that comes almost immediately Let's try and change the order number, right? It's not funny to have the same. So let's do a 59 instead of a 58 here and just see that it goes through. And hopefully we will be able to see again that we got a 59 here now. So now what we're going to do is try and use this new cube sample endpoint here and get another trading partner that sends a completely different format. And let's go and have a look. So it's definitely submitted. We got a correlation ID and everything back. And as you can see here, we actually now get our ERP order directly into our P system now with an order from CubeSample. Okay. So that's actually the main thing we wanted to show you here. That's how easy, if we already have a flow and we use these internal or canonical formats, how easy it is in FlowgraIT to actually, attach a new trading partner into the ecosystem. Let me just show you a little bit of tracking here because we've sent in a couple of orders now. I just wanted to show you in one of the FlowgraIT workbooks that all this stuff we're sending in, remember I just did a 59, is being tracked here, and you would even be able to say, hey, there's a customer complaining right now that we can't find message ID 17, or maybe we want to search on a correlation ID, but again, let's say some customer call in and say, can you please check message ID 17, so we would also be able to search here. And FlowgraIT has tons of these different workbook, and of course the customer can also themselves custom make some of these, but as long as you conform with these internal format principles that we talked briefly about, you can see a lot of this stuff will be auto-populated, and you will be able to use tracking out of the box immediately in Azure. Okay, well, thank you for your time. I hope this makes sense, and feel free to reach out to us if you have any further questions. Thank you.